When I look at what AYLF has become over the last 10 years, it is an amazing progression, and I think that has been spoken to. I will not repeat what Gabriel and Cosma have said about AYLF, only to say that it is something that has been sort of ad hoc. We have targeted, we have looked for student leaders across the various colleges, and luckily and by the power of God, we have had many who have come over and participated in this process and been mentored and moved on into society. But how can we make sure that that process is much more structured and deliberate? Because if it is more structured and deliberate, we are able to cast the net wider. We are able to make sure that it is as many students as possible participating in this. And this is where the university administration becomes extremely important. Because rather than do it sort of as an ad hoc thing, why not partner with the university administration? Because if that partnership sets in, then this becomes an extremely powerful transformer of society. Extremely powerful. Because Cosmo put it very well, when you have the few elite citizens who start in standard 1, about 1 million, the very few who make it to university, and then within that very few, the leaders who are elected amongst their peers, surely these are people who we should not be looking at. And I'll be very honest, my views of student leaders, and they all know, because I've talked to them for many years, are very much like what Lone talked about Vimal. That if you came to my, to my office to an interview with me and you said, oh, but you're a student leader, my reaction would be what? Don't touch that guy. That is a fact. That here you are, you have leaders in the university, and when they present themselves as former student leaders, the initial inclination and reaction is to say, don't tap them because you know what they do. And yet, it should actually be the exact opposite. That because you have been a student leader, it is you and not. Because it's not easy to be elected amongst your peers. It means you have certain command, certain leadership abilities, a respect and a credibility that your peers see in you. And those are the people who should drive the society going forward. And yet, what are we doing? What have we been doing? Somehow they've been the ones we've been shunning. So, I hope that this session impresses upon you how important this partnership will be, because it moves from ad hoc to structure. Some of us, Cosma, myself, Kibi, Vima, many people, have mentored many of these young men and women. Gabriel typically brings about 20 young men and women to my boardroom. I try to do it on a monthly basis, been doing it over the last couple of years, where we just talk. And what I realize is that I've taken very many things for granted over the years, right? Because I grew up in an earlier stage where things perhaps were a bit easier, to be honest. But very few of us, I mean, most of you will agree when you went to college, it was easier once you got to college, but very, 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 very few of you got to college in those days, right? When there was only 2 or 3 universities. In fact, there was once upon a time there was only 2 universities. And we took things for granted. But I realized that mentoring, the mentorship these student leaders require is important. The example of handling 30 million shillings was given. But it is important, we have felt, that leaders in society begin to interact so that they actually become facile with engaging with leaders in society. So it becomes just a matter of course, right? You meet Professor Koi Turima, you meet Mugo Kibati, you meet Vimal Shah, big deal. Okay, I can also be Vimal Shah. I can also be Professor Koi Turima. And I think we would like to appeal to you today to come walk with us on this journey and make it structured, cast the net wider, almost ensure that any young man or woman who gets elected to a student leadership position in any college in this country is destined to be a leader in society, in one way or the other. And there are many ways to lead. But just to be somebody who's an opinion leader, somebody who shapes society, that they be the people who the rest of society follows, not shuns.